Hello and welcome to the presentation of my case. Corbeau deals with exclusive rights and the prohibition of competition. I will start first based on the report for the hearing with the legal basis of the Belgian legislation. I will tell you some facts about the plaintiff's view and the defendant's view. And at the end, I will give you the main question or the main issue in this case. Then, based on the judgment, I will introduce you to the reasoning with special regard to Article 90 EC Treaty. And I will provide you the answer of the ECJ. And then, as a conclusion, I will bring an abstract principle, what you can conclude out of this case. So the legal basis is quite an old law because the first step of the law was introduced in 1956, and then it developed 2 times, and the last or the third renewal took place in 1991, and this is the law we need to look at, or the ECJ had to look at in the case. So first of all, the law of the 26th December 1956 guaranteed already back then that the Belgian state has a postal monopoly because it said in this law that the postal administration shall collect, carry and distribute throughout the kingdom letters, sealed or unsealed postcards, advertisements, circulars, brochures, price lists and notices of all kinds of bearing the address of the recipient, and it shall have the monopoly in the said services. So the whole business was with delivering letters from A to B or postcards or whatever was regulated, so that only the Belgian kingdom has the right to provide these services in the 1950s. Then the second law was about 15 years later in 1971, and there were just a few not so important renewals. So the old name was replaced with a new name. So the office was, the post service was now called post office, and the construction post office was now a legal person under public law with the duty to administer the postal services. And in the 70s also introduced was the post office banking service, and these banking services were accorded to the industrial and commercial methods and standards. The third and for the moment last renewal took place in 1991. And with this law, there was a redefinition of the postal monopoly. So the definition established by the law of 1956 was renewed, and a distinction was made between public service tasks concerning letter post, so normal post business, and other tasks, for example, like the courier delivery or door-to-door delivery or banking services. Yes, so that's the Belgian law. A short introduction into this. The plaintiff was the Tribunal Correctionnel d'Élyge, so a Belgian criminal court, and the criminal court referred in December 1991 to the ECJ for a preliminary ruling under today's Article 267 concerning the interpretation of the compatibility of the Belgian legislation with Article 90, or today Article 86 TFEU and Article 90 EC Treaty or 86 TFEU deals with the granting of special or exclusive rights to public undertakings which were entrusted with the operation of services of general economic interest. And the ECJ confirmed that the Belgian Postal Authority was an undertaking which enjoyed exclusive rights within the meaning of Article 90, paragraph 1 and 2, and that it held a dominant position within the common market according to Article 86 TFEU. And then Article 90, paragraph 2 EC Treaty permits to a member state that the member state can do whatever is necessary to ensure the performance of the particular task assigned to the specific public undertaking. And in the present case, the post office, which is entrusted with the service of general economic interest, is a public undertaking, and this service consists the obligation to collect, carry, and distribute mail on behalf of all users throughout the territory of the Belgian state. And that's important for the conclusion of this case. These services must be performed at uniform tariffs on similar quality conditions throughout the whole territory. So just based on this ground, the restriction on competition from individual or private undertakings is justified because individual or private undertakings are concerned more about the economically profitable sectors. And the public undertaking, so here the post office is not necessarily concerned about the economical profit because they were supported, or they are supported by the Belgian state. Now to the defendant. Mr. Paul Corbeau was a businessman from Lüttich, this town in Belgium, and he drove from 1987 to 1991 a post-like business. So, for example, in Germany we have the Deutsche Post with the yellow cars and yellow post boxes, and I'm not sure if it's in whole Germany, but for example in Hanover, and I think in Hamburg too, we have the City Post, a competitor to the Deutsche Post, and they have this light blue colored cars and post box and so on. And Mr. Paul Corbeau was charged with infringing the Belgian legislation in the postal monopoly. And then the question, which was referred to the ECJ, was whether Article 90 EC Treaty must be interpreted as meaning that is contrary to the article for the legislation of the member state, which confers in a body such as the Belgian Post Administration an exclusive right performing services of general interest to prevent an economic private operator established in that state from offering under threat of criminal penalties certain specific services in the market. And the ECJ argued that the member state, which is creating a dominant position by the grant of exclusive rights, is not as such incompatible with Article 90 EC Treaty, but the treaty nonetheless requires the member state not to adopt any measures which might infiltrate the effectiveness of those provisions. And furthermore, Article 90 EC Treaty provides that public undertakings entrusted with the operation of services of general economic interest should be subject to the competition rules only insofar as the application of such rules does not interfere with the performance in law or in fact of the particular task assigned to them. So that's the difference between a public undertaking like the Deutsche Post or the Belgium Post Administration. They have to deliver the letters or whatever at uniform tariffs and similar quality conditions, because they are not so concerned about their profit. And the private undertaking is concerned about profit because there is no support from the state. So the exclusion of competition is not justified as specific services dissociable from the service of general interest, which meets special needs of economic operators and which call for certain additional services not offered by the traditional public undertaking, insofar as such specific services by their nature and conditions in which they are offered do not compromise the economic equilibrium of the public undertaking. So that means that in this case, Mr. Corbeau does not the same as the normal Belgian Post administration. He provided special services like courier services or door-to-door delivery. And we saw with the law of the postal services of 1991 that the postal monopoly was redefined and the distinction was made between public service tasks concerning the letter post, and this only the normal standard letter delivery was a monopoly to the Belgian Post Administration, and these courier delivery services and other specific services were excluded from the postal monopoly. So the answer of the ECJ was that Article 90 EC Treaty does not permit the member state legislation which confers on a public body an exclusive right to prohibit, under threat of criminal penalties, and private economic operator of that specific member state from offering certain individual services. So that means, as I said before, you can run, in this case in Belgium, a post-like business, and the member states, so Belgium, cannot exclude or restrict your business because the competition is allowed when you provide specific services, like Mr. Paul Corbeau does. And that's why you can conclude with this case, or from this case, that the restriction of competition is not justified in all cases. There must be some special requirements fulfilled. So you cannot just say, okay, in this case, Mr. Corbeau delivered some letters from A to B, and that's a post-like business. So we, the Belgian state, restrict this because it's kind of competition to the post administration. There must be some special requirements fulfilled. So it has to be very similar to the public undertaking, and this is in this case not the case. So there were differences. Mr. Corbeau was very specific and offered very individual services, and not the whole and the general services like the post-administration of the Belgian state. So, and that's it for now. If you have any questions, you can ask me maybe in the next lecture. And then thank you for your attention.